Old school, I like that. Come on mate, you go any slower, you get a parking ticket. Oh no, they've got no 99. Right, cool, let's fill up, get a can of the good stuff, and then let's go find somewhere nice to sit down, and then we can talk. Cheeky boy. Hello mate, can I get that on pump 8 please? I guess in some ways I am going to miss the grey a little bit. But anyway, let's get on to what we're here for. The best sound, because whether it's a Guinness or a Monster, it's still good. So that is it. We are taking things back to 2019. Now this wasn't actually the spot I planned on shooting this, but it's kind of cool and I like it, and the other spot that I went to was packed. There's a main road behind me, the A508, so if you hear stuff in the background, again, I can only apologise. I didn't get my prime spot, but you know, we move, we make things work, we don't make excuses. So let's go back to 2019. Now, spoiler alert, I am scrolling through my phone, because you know, it's sometimes nice to have some memories that you can go back on, you can talk about. So let's talk about why I got into riding, and more importantly, what got me into riding in the first place, because I'm not from a family of bikers. My uncle used to ride bikes when I was 6 years old. He had a real bad accident in 2009, and the family were just like, right, that's it, no bikes. And I kind of understood it, and I didn't really have anything that I could say against that. I kind of just had to go with the flow, I had no choice. I was only a young kid, so the idea of saying to my nan and granddad, by the way, I'm getting a bike, didn't cut it. They weren't having it. My granddad's exact words were, if you bring a bike back to this house, I'm going to smash it up on the driveway in front of you. And as you can imagine, that put me off for quite some time. So much so that I waited until I was 21. So 2019, I would have been 21 years old. I'd grew up in Northampton. I spent all of my younger years there. I spent all of the years going out and socialising, enjoying things with my mates, all in and around that area. Played football there. Between there and Milton Keynes and Northampton, I was sort of all over the place in that respect. Now, I was with someone for 7 years at this point. Like, 7 years is a long time for anyone, let alone when you take into consideration it was from the age of 14 to 21. That's a third of your life, which when you put it like that, that's huge. Like, that's actually huge, no matter what age you are. Like, if you're 60, it means you've been with someone 20 years. That's a long time. So it's, yeah, it was a long time, and as you can imagine, you're attached to that person. It's all you ever know. Now, we broke up when I was 21. Without going into details and everything about it, I didn't want it, but that's not how relationships work. So that was that, basically. And at that point in time, my whole world crashed. My best mates around me didn't know how to help me. My family were like, come on dude, you got to try and pick yourself up out of this. And I have no shame in admitting that took me years to get fully over and recover from. But again, when you spent so much time with someone and it's all you know, it's hard to get past that first hurdle. And then came motorbikes. So that happened, we split, and then 4 weeks later, I had a bike license, literally like that. I'd done my CBT on, I think it was the Monday. I'd ordered my stuff off Amazon, which I would never recommend anyone to do. I literally ordered the cheapest outfit I could. I'm talking £30 helmet, £15 boots sort of level. I went back, I'll put a screenshot up on it or something like that. So that was my first ever motorcycle outfit. And yeah, 3 weeks later, I had my A2. I was 21 years old, I was on an A2 license. I was thinking, this is sick. And then came my first bike, which was a CBR 500R. Now, I wasn't all about socials and cameras and imagery and all that sort of stuff, years gone. Like, now, yes, fair, but back then, I didn't even know that you had chin mount cameras. I didn't know Senna existed, I didn't know Cardo existed. I was just a young, naive lad who had no idea about motorbikes. So with that, I just had my helmet, a real cheap Bluetooth off of Amazon, just so I could listen to music. And that was that. That was me for 2 years. I had no friends that I rode bikes with. I knew of one lad who rode bikes, but I didn't really go out socially with many people. There was a small group of guys in Milton Keynes that I'd meet every now and again, but I used to get really anxious going to meets. So I'd very rarely go to these meets because I couldn't stomach getting myself there. So for the first 2 years, it was very much sort of freewheeling. It's me, my Honda, and just loving life. Riding through summer in t-shirt and shorts, which was stupid. And I did that for way longer than I should have ever done it. But yeah, I love that bike. That was everything that shaped me from that point to now. I can quite happily say that bike saved me, and it's as simple as that. And I think that's for a lot of people as well. A lot of people are going to have that general consensus of a bike has helped them through something at some point. Fair enough, some of us do it for commuting, some of it do it because my dad's done it, my granddad's done it, and you kind of just pushed into that lifestyle. Same with sports and teams you support. But for me, and I know for a lot of other people, that's going to be the reason they started riding. And that's why I started riding. So yeah, for 2 years it shaped me, it saved me, and it got me out of a lot of mental bother. We then fast forward 2 years and we get to 2021. Now, point of note as well, 2020, obviously we had lockdown. Going into 2021, we still had lockdown, but I'd moved out into my first house December 2019. So I was very much on my own. Now I was lucky I could still go to work, I could still go out of the house, and I used to take my bike as much as possible. So I was riding every day. So for those 2 years, I had quiet roads, just me, no one else to distract me, and I was just learning constantly. But yeah, we fast forward to 2021. Now this is where things change quite a lot, and I think this is where the start of what you know me as now, as SharkBoi, kind of came into fruition. Before that, I was just George with a Honda, and I'm still just George, just with a Beamer. It don't change anything. But that was the founding year, if you like. So we fast forward to 2021, and I bought my 2007 Yamaha R1. So at the time, I was looking between 3 bikes. I was looking between a ZX-10R, which I obviously then bought in my later years on track, an S1000RR, a Gen 2 rather than a Gen 3, and the R1. Now, I went for the R1 for one reason only, and that was because my uncle used to ride an R1. And when I say used to look up to my uncle, I used to look up to my uncle like a dad that I didn't have, the same way I looked up to my granddad like the dad that I didn't have. Me and my uncle were like the closest bond you could get that wasn't that sort of direct son-grandson relation. So I used to look up to him for absolutely everything. So 12th of August 2021, when I got to Aylesbury and see that R1, I was set. I had to get it. I said to the guy, look, I really want it. What do you need deposit now? And he said, no, it's fine, mate. That's not a problem. Just let me know when you want it delivered to yours and we can do it there and then. I was like, sweet. So 12th of August, I went to see the bike, and on the 16th of August, it was in my garden, and it stayed there for a month and a half until I had my license. And everyone says that like I didn't leave it in the garden, I went out on it. I swear to God, I did not go out on that bike once. I sat like a proper goody little two shoes. I didn't even so much as take it out on the street, ride it back into my garden to clean it. It just sat there for ages. So we've done a couple of little custom mods, you know, indicators, little lever guards and levers and all that sort of stuff. And then that was pretty much it. And then this is no way me plugging anyone here. This was before I even started taking photos of the bike itself. I was just uploading to my personal page, oh look, iPhone shot, how cool is this new bike I've got? And then I went on Monster Fairing's website. Honestly, you guys know me now, obviously working with Monster quite closely and all that sort of stuff, but years before we was even doing that, I was an advocate for Monster Fairings. They were so good with what they were doing. So here's me, 23 years old, scrolling through Monster's website, looking for custom fairings. And I just see this shark teeth and I thought, that is sick. I'd seen something similar on original SharkBoi, the proper one, and Titanium Tarzan. They'd had similar designs. I think Tarzan's was the exact same, just he had his gold colors. So I had a look here, I messaged them, said, look, I love the design, can you do it in a different color? And they said, yeah, sure, what colors do you want? Went for the pink, obviously, and that stuck for years. But when I'd done that, I'd updated it, changed it to the pink fairings. I'd then gone out on a ride sort of in and around Northampton, and one of the guys from my estate, funnily enough, bumped into me at a petrol station and said, you live on my estate, there's quite a few of us who all go out together. Do you want to come out on Saturday? We're going to London. I was like, oh my God, I've never been on a group ride. I've never been on a group ride. I'm like, yeah, cool, let's do it. This sounds sick. So this is where I met Dom, Yo Domcat. But the truth of it is, I'd messaged Dom about 3 months before this and said to him, look, I'm in Northampton. I know you ride a lot of the local roads. Can we meet up at some point? I don't really know anyone, blah, 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 blah. You know the score. And then he basically said, we've got our group. At the moment, we're not really sort of taking new people in as such. Not like it's a cult or anything like that, but you guys who ride in groups know what it's like when you've got someone new who comes in. It's a whole new learning curve of how they ride, how they react to how you ride, and everything else in between. So now I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt, I understand why he was a bit standoffish. Plus the fact that whether we like it or not, a lot of people try and sort of leech into people to get more things out of them in terms of social media stuff. It's just sadly how it goes. And again, been on both sides of it, and I'm not proud of it, but it is what it is. I think everyone does it at some point, whether we like to admit it or not. So yeah, I got straight armed by the mighty cat, and then yeah, months later, I'm at Tesco petrol station, with him stood there, the guy who invited me stood there, and me in the middle like, what the is going on? So then we get talking, and then obviously time goes by. Me and Dom are like that now, and it's a nice thing to see. But he was the first person that I've met. I then was talking to him, got added into the group, got my first Senna because it's better than Cardo 80. And then, yeah, started riding with the boys, done the yearly Christmas do in Northampton. And Dom said to me, he was like, look, dude, the bike is really cool. It stands out, it looks good. Just go for it, run with it. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you've already told me you're posting it to your personal page and not a dedicated page. He said, split it off, go and do it dedicated, go and see where you can take it, have fun with it. And I weren't really that interested in it. And funnily enough, Lab started at the same sort of time as what I did, I believe, unless I'm wrong with that. He'll correct me if I am wrong. But we all kind of started around that same point. So I did, I ran with it, and then I've kind of made it into what it is now as such. But if it weren't for Dom, probably none of this would have happened. Because I had zero understanding, zero interest, zero idea how to do it all. I didn't even know how to do camera stuff. Someone would talk about ratios and stuff like that for landscape and portrait. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just freewheeling it. And this spot's amazing. I've got flies everywhere. But I was just freewheeling it, and that's the reality of it. But for all sort of intents and purposes, that was where SharkBoi started. And that year was a really weird year. I had some great times with the guys. I had like new experiences, things I'd never done before. I went to Motorcycle Live. I didn't know they did bike shows like that. And again, fast forward years, I've somehow gotten front covers of stuff to do with it, which is nuts. But yeah, I didn't understand half of any of it or how it worked or anything along them lines. So Dom created SharkBoi. That's the easiest way to put it. If anyone ever asks, that's all I'd tell them. So I started riding with a group, and I find very quickly that my ability up here is not what my ability is down here. And I learned the hard way in July of 2021. So I went out of an evening, Top Man jeans, not even like Risha AA rated jeans, just normal Top Man jeans, t-shirt, hoodie, Converse. Idiot. The following day, I go out, my mate is like meeting up with me, and he said, look, if you're coming out with me today, you've got to be wearing your leathers. I'm like, nah, man, I don't want to. It's well nice weather. It's like 24 degrees. I was like, I'm not doing it. Anyway, gave in. 3 miles down the road, I crashed hard. Slid along off the roundabout, hit the curb, went up onto the grass. It was a hard crash. That hurt me more than a lot of my other accidents that I've had on and off track over the years. And that moment kind of hit me and went, you're not where you think you are physically in terms of your ability, but also you're not as invincible as you think you are, because that hurt and I had proper stuff on. And a lot of things changed at that point. Track days were a thing. When I got a track bike after my friend said, look, if you're gonna be racing like you are on the road, go and get a track bike and do it properly. So Corey, thank you for that, mate, because in all honesty, if it hadn't been for you, I wouldn't have got a track bike and things would have probably ended up worse. So yeah, Corey got me into the track scene. Corey's a lad who I went to school with. So yeah, he helped massively in that respect, and then sort of went down the track route. That opened up so much for me in terms of my ability, my confidence, my understanding of what you can and can't get away with, what a bike can and can't handle. I've had low sides, high sides and everything in between, but that was such a pinnacle turning point for me as such, where I learned a heck of a lot and progressed massively, to the point where I think even the guys who've ridden with me over the years would say, you were here, now you're here. If not, the gap is greater. And it's a nice thing to know that you started here and you've gradually gone up. But yeah, it was a very different year in terms of how it transitioned and what happened. So that was 2021, and we sort of scroll through that year as such. And that was, like I say, met everyone, got some crazy experiences and all that good stuff. We're now gonna flick forward to 2023, the year of the rebuilds. So 2023, I started taking my hobby into more of a, what can I do with this? So I started doing rebuilds. I rebuilt my R1 when I crashed it. I rebuilt my R1 again when I wanted to get a new set of fairings. I rebuilt an R6, R7, ZX6R, my friend's double R. Like, there was so much I'd done. I never documented any of it. Nothing like what I do now. And I kind of kicked myself for that, because it was a really good learning curve. And it would have been really good for you guys to see the sort of progression as time's gone on. Now to the likes of the RS660, which is a dedicated rebuild series. I hate to say it, I'm nowhere near the guy's scale, of course, but like a Matt Armstrong vibe. Go and pick a bike up that's battered, go and look at it, strip it down, repair it, get it back to its original glory, go and take it out and enjoy it, sell it on. And just keep rinsing and repeating it, because not only is it great to watch, it's really good for me to look back on. In 20 years' time, when I've got kids, maybe even looking at having my own grandkids, you don't know what happens. It's being able to look at things and go, yeah, I did that 20 years ago. oh, Dad, what did you do when you was in your 20s? Well, actually, I did some pretty cool shit. And I think that's the best bit, is the memories you get to look back on. So a lot of this, I'm kind of skipping through and taking the biggest points and pinnacle points and the sort of highlights of that year. Because if we would sit and go through it year on year, we'd be here for hours. Like, genuinely, I could sit and talk about it for hours, and how things changed and why they changed and how it affected me and people around me and all that sort of stuff. But we're not going to do that. If you want, you can ask and I'll answer. Go for it if there's something that sticks in your mind. But we scroll through to 2024. Now, 2024 was a weird year for me. Going back to the reason I started riding, who I was with at that time, we kind of rekindled things. And in my head at the time, I thought, this is amazing, this is going to be great, this is like the whole fairy tale story. Didn't go like that. 2 years later, I went down the pan, but that's what we'll get onto in a bit. But that year, I physically felt amazing again. I started to feel good. I started pushing things more. I was enjoying myself. Work was going good. There wasn't really anything that wasn't going great. And I was so lucky that the way that year started to go. We then organised to go to Germany. Now, for those of you who followed the Germany trip, oh my God, it's the sort of place that you can only dream of. The roads are amazing. The food's good. The people are great. The beer's amazing. Like, just everything about Germany in and of itself, unreal. And then you come back here. Don't get me wrong, there's some beautiful places to go, but the roads are not as good. The food is not as good. It's nowhere near as financially feasible as what it is over there. There's just so many positive points about Germany, with exception to the language, because I can't speak it. But Germany was amazing. We went to the Nürburgring, Black Forest, Lake Tichysee. We went so many amazing places. But the thing for Germany, for me, that was the biggest turning point, was not just the fact that I'd been with a group of guys that I met through being in front of and behind a camera and spent some amazing time with them. It was the start of the creation journey for me. I was never creative before that. I took photos on my phone and put it online. It was as simple as that. But I said to the boys about 3 months before we went, I said, how cool would it be if we had some wicked photos out there? And I'm talking proper photography, not just snaps on the phone. And we all kind of talked about it, and then we weighed it up, see how much it would cost to get someone out there, and it was stupid money. So I went and bought my first camera, my Canon EOS 2000, which was a real basic camera. For those of you who nerd out on it, it's a DSLR camera. It's real basic, but it's sort of mid-level. And these are the photos that I used to get. They were horrific, but we got some okay ones out of Germany. But at that point now, I thought, I've got such a steep learning curve, but I want to do this. Not just for me, but for the boys. It would be so good to get all this wicked content. And if I'm being honest, I think it's done well over the years. It's got better and better and better and better, and it looks mint. Some of the photos I've done, I can't lie, I look at and think, you've smashed that. So we do Germany. I pick up a camera. I start learning how to use said camera. And as time goes by, start to realise that, you know what, maybe I need to get a better camera. And that's when the Sony started coming in. So this video is being recorded on the ZV-1. I've got the A7 III, which is a wicked camera. It's so good for photos. It's so good for real crisp cinematic little reels and short reels and stuff like that. And it's just overall is what sort of created my page. It's boosted everything. The quality's better. Everything about it, in my opinion, is just so much better. We then fly through to September 2024, which is when I bought this. And this, honestly, is hands down the best 1000cc I've ever been on. Tanks the ZX-10, tanks the R1, tanks the GX 1000. It literally smashes them all out of the park. 2015, it's got a quick shifter, blipper, wheelie control to an extent, customizable road modes. It's got customizing engine braking. It's got so much that you can customize on this bike. It's 11 years old. Like, it was one of the first of its generation to do it. Plus the fact it's got, after Dave Woods mapped it, 198 at the wheel, 0 to 60 on papers, 2.7, which is just insane. Like, it's nuts. For £9,000. That's what I paid for this on the nose at Superbike Factory at Donington, 9 grand. And this tanks 90% of supercars that you pay £100,000 plus for. It's ridiculous. But that being said, September 2024, this was my early birthday present. This was what I got. This was my 26th birthday, I got this. And I love it, absolutely love it to bits. Then obviously I had the issues with it. Donington Superbike Factory were amazing. They sorted all that out for me. And then the progression came in again. The pink shark came back because it was never going to stay standard. And if I'm being perfectly transparent, well, I just had to reset the camera. So if I look ever so slightly different to what I did in the last shot, I can only apologise. Anyway, like I was saying, it was never going to stay its basic colour for long. The pink came back, and then I got in trouble, ran a red light, I got done on a dash cam. So then I was like, I don't want to stand out no more. I want to go back to being subtle. So the grey came in. Now, of course, we know this is changing again soon, but it just highlights that there's been a change in mindset constantly, from wanting to stand out and be fun and vibrant and all that sort of stuff, and going back to being subtle and just be nice and controlled, calm and relaxed with things. And then I'm going back to it again. I want to go back to a new colour, which I nearly said then, but I'm not releasing it yet because that's in another video. But that's on its way and it's ready to go. So yes, there's been change over the years, for the good, for the bad, and yeah, just sort of overall. And then we get to 2025. Now, 2025 for me, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, through my own silly decisions as well as other people's decisions, which I have no control over, 2025 was the worst year for me that I have ever had, hands down, without fail. I've had horrible breakups when I was a kid. Cool, you're a kid, you get over these things as time goes on. You learn that there comes a point in life where you've just got to keep it moving, and if you don't, that's where things start happening and going in a downhill slope, and it's not something you want to be sat there dealing with consciously. But as you get older and you control as much as you can other people's actions and everything like that, it really does do you in, especially when you didn't expect it. And again, I'm not saying I'm a saint, I'm not saying I'm some perfect guy, because I'm not. I know that. I've done so much in terms of change to make myself better over these last 6 months as like a minimum, because I was getting called out for it. And I don't mean that as in like, oh no, I've been social media called out. I mean like my close friends were saying to me, what are you doing? What are you playing at? And bringing up specifics. And it's only when the people close to you bring it up, you go, do you know what? I've actually been a dick. And I'm so grateful. I'm not even gonna mention it and go through the specifics, but you guys, you know who you all are, on and off bikes. So in truth, without you guys, I'd still be an absolute twat. So yeah, I can only thank you guys for it. But 2025, yes. It's not nice for a lot of people to hear, and I'm not sharing this on my socials. I'm just gonna stick it up, and then if people watch it, they watch it. Which kind of makes sense, it kind of doesn't. What I mean by that is I'm not sticking it on Insta, on my stories, so hundreds of people can see it straight away. Not a thing. January the 10th, 2025 was the day that I planned for myself to not be here anymore, which is now easy to say, but up until sort of 2 months ago, I couldn't even bring myself to say it. The fact that at the age of 27 years old, I'm sat happy and conscious in thought that today is my last day. And when I look back at that, being completely transparent, it's a really weird feeling. I was happy. It was the first time I've been happy in a long time. And if it wasn't for somebody getting home at my house hours before they should have, none of this would have happened. This wouldn't happen. This wouldn't be here anymore. I'd have just been a memory and some photos and videos and my bike. When I think about it like that, it actually makes me feel quite sad and quite selfish as well, to be honest. Now, in the nicest possible way, I was happy with what I was going to do for myself with my decision. And it wasn't going to be a decision that everybody was happy with. It was going to be a decision that affected a lot of people. And selfishly, I didn't care, because I couldn't deal with it anymore. I went back home to my nan and granddad's for a little while. I then finally opened up and spoke to people. Now, you'll see through various bits, I've always been an advocate for the man cave since I started going. And I went for months and never spoke up and said anything in there until it just hit. So I was back at home again for a little while. And then the first Tuesday that came, I went straight to the man cave, and I still remember this clear as day without remembering who was there, which is also a really weird feeling, and said, this is what I've been feeling, this was my plan, this was what I thought, da 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 da. Again, the camera died, it's getting really hot, so I'm gonna try and rattle through this last little bit and kind of explain everything that happened. So yeah, funny enough, one of the boys is calling me now. I went to the man cave, I opened up on everything and was just surrounded by comfort and well done, mate. You're not on your own with this. We'll help you get you through this. And it didn't hit me until then that, you know what? I'm actually not on my own with this. And it took all of that. I'd urge anyone just to speak up. Don't sit there and do it on your own, because there's so many people out there that are willing to help, can help. There's phone numbers that you can pick up and call, and they'll sit there and help you. And they'll make sure that you get the support you need for it. And it's so easy for me to say it, because I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt. It's so hard when you're sat there on your own feeling lonely about it. So I get it, but just trust me, force yourself through it, pick up that phone call, even if it's to your best mate, because your best mate will help you deal with yourself better than you will deal with yourself, because you think of everything going on. Your best mate just goes, I don't want to see my friend like this. I don't want to see him down and out with stuff. I want to help. So yeah, just get up and make the phone call, because I never thought I'd be that kid who was going to be a statistic. but I very nearly was. I don't want sympathy for it. I don't want a well done for coming up and coming out and speaking about it. I don't need any of that. I want someone who might need it to hear that and go, do you know what? I'm gonna make that call. And then we get to 2026. I didn't really want to stay on that topic too much because it's quite a sad topic and I know a lot of people are gonna struggle, but if you are one of those people, please get up and pick up the phone, because 100% you'll feel so much better about yourself after. Don't do what I did and sit there in silence for a long time. Do not do that. Get yourself back up on your feet, make the phone call and just be happy again, because trust me, it does get a heck of a lot better. And then of course things happen with Shark Helmet, CBC Brakes, Motorcycle Live, they all kind of bounced in. So from being down and out and nearly not here to having some of the best companies to work with just out of nowhere. And it's kind of weird to look back on that now, because if I hadn't stuck around, I'd have never got to experience just how good this year could have possibly been, how 2025 could have possibly been, I should say. But yeah, it just goes to show that sometimes that slingshot effect is so real. You get dragged back so much, there's only one way you're going. So you just got to go for it and push yourself and just do as much as you can. But then we land in 2026. Bike season's about to start. I know a few things that are happening this year without going into too much detail, but yeah, we're looking on the up, which is the main thing. Right, I've got to speed run this like it's a 2010 Minecraft video, only because of the heat of the camera. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I know it's a little bit of a different video. Yeah, hopefully some of you will benefit from it. Hopefully you enjoyed it more than anything. And this was something for me to get a few little bits and pieces out that I kind of wanted to speak about but didn't really know how to. But that's a whistle stop. Maybe we'll go in depth over the years at some point, but just as a brief intro as to who I am and where we started, why I started and where we're at now. So it's gonna be a good year, I can see it. But yeah, I'm gonna call Lab back now because I just missed his phone call, and I'll catch you in the next one.